All right. The Boston Celtics won the basketball game against the Denver Nuggets. Welcome to Celtics Late Night. First to the floor. First one of the 2025 year of our Lord. Brad Stevens, Jason Tatum. I'm joined by Dan Greenberg. Greeny, how we doing?
Good. I don't even know if we can call that a win against the Denver Nuggets. It's like what do they have a G League team? It's like, without Jokic, they're not the Nuggets. But technically they played that franchise that operates out of Denver, Colorado.
Sure.
But it was not the Nuggets.
It was not the Nuggets, but it is a sneaky move. If you're going to play a team and your best player is not going to play, the best time to let the other team know is right before the game starts. Because mentally, you're jacked up for Jokic. Just like imagine what that feels like mentally. You're ready to play against one of the greatest players of all time, having maybe one of the best offensive seasons of all time. And 3 minutes before tip, you hear that guy's not playing. And everything you know is, well, without Jokic on the court, this team's one of the worst teams in the NBA. We're going to smoke these guys. There's just a mental part of it for the team playing that team. And then the flip side, I know what the numbers say. That Nuggets team played pretty well to me tonight.
And what's interesting about that is like usually when the team misses their best players, like if Jason Tatum doesn't play, the Celtics are still going to play their same style, right? Like it doesn't change things. But when Jokic doesn't play, it's like that's a much different, like he is how they play. So that's how it was very predictable that you knew they were going to go with the higher 3-point rate, try to win on variance and take care, rely on the altitude and the shooting woes and, try to win that way. And they, like you said, were very effective with it. I don't know why Mike Malone plays Sarge so much over Peyton Watson. Like that was such a prayer, especially given how Watson was, shooting the three. And, defensively, I think there were things that from an energy standpoint that the Celtics, sort of let the game slip in terms of allowing runs and, not really finding the best shots. But this was every other Celtic game that they play against a team missing their best player. Like the second that happens, this is the type of game I think most fans should have expected. I think the only difference now is it got to like 4 minutes in the fourth quarter and they were like, all right, we're cutting the shit. Like we're playing defense. We're going to hit KP down low. Tatum's going to, take over and, close the door. Drew had big threes. It was a very good close to a second half that was sort of teetering at times of, are they ever going to lock in and really, hunker down?
Yeah, like Peyton Watson was a real problem. I thought defensively he was really good. I thought defensively the Nuggets did fly around and make things tough on the Celtics. And we are in the midst of what I'm referring to as variance Armageddon, and it's like kicking the shit out of the Celtics.
Crazy. It's crazy how they got outshot tonight by three, behind the three, right? I think it was like 38 to 34%. Same thing we just saw against OKC. It's like, how does the collective roster all be, so cold on great looks and great process? It's not like they're not generating good threes and their variance is due to, contested or rushed or isolation. You're still getting the ball movement. You're still getting the screening and just nobody can make a shot. It's unbelievable.
It's brutal. And it's flipping. Like they survived it against the Wolves because they shot well, but the Wolves were 54% on 39 attempts. Like you don't win those games.
Right.
And then the Rockets, they just killed them. And then the Thunder was there was no bigger disparity.
That was just not real.
And then again tonight, and this is a trend now for a month. Easily.
Yeah. Not, I'd say ever since the Grizzlies fourth quarter in early December, like the 7th of December, they just have not. Like it's almost surprising when they shoot league average, right? Like it used to be, wow, the Celtics made 23s and shot 40%. This is crazy. Now it's like I'll take 34%. Dude. Like just don't shoot under 30% and you'll win almost every game by double digits.
Truly.
That's far. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? That's exactly right. So last 15 games, the Celtics ranked 22nd in the NBA in 3-point percentage at 35.1.
I was going to say, there's no way it's higher than 34,
Yeah,
35%.
yeah, 35% over 15 games for a team that, in theory, has like some of the like maybe the best collection of shooting talent across their top 8, like ever. They're just like like you just line them up. Like, you know, Steph and Clay were alone 2 of the best shooters ever. But you stack these guys up, and it's like they should.
I mean,
have
here's the
nights like
reality,
this.
though. Here's the reality. Last year, they had 6 players shoot over 40% on catch and shoot threes. This year, they have 2.
Was it Pritchard and Tatum?
Pritchard and no, it's I want to say
Not Hauser.
no, it was Pritchard and I have the graphic somewhere.
That's right. Yeah. Because I know
Could be,
Tatum's
but
been up
even
there.
still, it's from 6 to 2. So that's your entire rotation to a third of your rotation. That's why it feels different, because now they're shooting 37, 38% when last year that was 42, 41%. Like, that doesn't feel like a huge drop off, but when you watch it unfold, it's like, it's not a total catastrophe, but it's just enough of a dip to where the variance game starts to come into play.
Oh man, like it's just, and it's every night, and the disparity is like huge. Like tonight, it was all night they were tracking below 30%, and they finally got it going in the fourth quarter, and it came back to earth. Like they had an out of timeout play, and honestly, they had a couple of plays. Tatum and Cornette had a nice little handoff game going, but they had a handoff with Cornette. Pritchard was coming through like another screen, top of the key, butt naked, wide open, like, and just in and out miss, and ended up getting the offensive rebound and leading to a Hauser 3. But it was just like they're generating some really, really nice looks off some really, really nice offense, and the defense of the opposing team starts to then get tighter because they're like a little more willing to leave guys open. And it's like, if you don't hit those shots, and that's what happened in the Thunder game, like you need to hit the shots.
You have to hit your open ones. And you don't even have to like hit them at an outrageous clip, but you can't be shooting sub 30%. And this is what annoys me. It's like people say, oh, the Thunder, the defense, they're holding them to under 30%. I don't know, man. Sam Hauser missing a wide open 3 off a curl screen, like, isn't the defense. He's just missing an open look. Al Horford missing a spot up corner 3 is just, he's missing a spot up corner 3. There's some, like, I thought a couple of Tatum's threes were heavily contested and, were the ones that you would, say are forced, but their overall struggles are just with guys not making open looks. That's really all it is.
And it's hard as both like as a fan and as a content creator. I talked about like Gary Washburn's article about like the secrets out on defending the Celtics, like physicality. And it's like, I know there's a yearning to assign this broader, more significant reason to why the Celtics don't, to quote Matt Moore on Twitter today, feel as good as they were last year. It's like, one, they're not as healthy as they were last year by a pretty wide margin. And 2, they're getting kicked in the teeth by shooting variance right now. There's definitely some defensive stuff that I think's been cleaned up over the last 5 games now. Like you go Raptors 54-point win, Timberwolves, Rockets, Thunder, Nuggets. I didn't think that the defense was that bad today. Russell Westbrook hit 3 threes. Or whatever. What did he hit?
I mean, he had
4 threes. He hit 4 threes.
4. Braun had a couple. Those are the ones that you live with. But again, like, a non-Jokic offense like shouldn't score 100 points.
Totally. Yeah.
It's like they literally can't do that even when he plays.
And they just got there. But it's like, if you told me before the game that Jamal Murray would go 1 for 5 from 3 and Michael Porter Jr. would go 2 for 7 from 3, I'm like, well, they won by 50. But it didn't quite happen that way. So I don't think the defense, yes, was the defense as good as the defense was in the Thunder, Rockets, and Timberwolves game? No. But it's not going to be out of 10 every time. No. I do think there's a mental thing to Jokic being out. Obviously, they did win the game. It is one of those games, and they even it's one of those games I feel like they kind of lost. Could they have just not covered? Because as someone that bet on the Nuggets to cover the spread, which I was 100% right about, but they just got away with it in the end.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you never apologize for a win ever. I don't give a shit who's playing.
Yeah.
And you especially don't apologize for a win to end a 4-game road trip, with what,
baby.
4 games, 5 nights, whatever the hell it is. It's like, that's a look ahead game, and it's a trap game on top of that with no Jokic. And on top of that, you got like you had to, execute to win. It wasn't like it was a complete shoe-in type game. So, but to the point about they don't feel the same, I do think it's important to remember it was never going to be the same. Like I was saying before the season, what you experienced last year is a once in a lifetime season. It is, like, from their efficiency to, how they beat, 30, 40, 50, all these wins. Granted, they have a 50-point win and, that. So just by the human nature, things were never going to feel and be the exact same as what you just saw, because you get one of those seasons in your life. Having said that, they're 27-10 with a plus 10 point differential. That plus 10 point differential in any other year would, be a wide lead over the league. It just so happens there are 2 teams that are having a better start than you. But like the Cavs and Thunder getting off to this start doesn't make what the Celtics are doing any less impressive. I mean, you look outside of their plus 10 point differential, is anybody even over plus 8? I think there's maybe like an 8.2 or an 8.1, but there's still a sizable gap. So it's like, I kind of reject like they're playing to the same level that we saw last year with different injury, situations and shooting regression. To me, that's like almost more impressive that they're able to sustain this level of play. That's all.
Yeah, and I wrote about that for Celtics blog. It's like you can easily make a case that this team has been more impressive. Like they had great health luck last year. If you look at the missed games, a lot of the missed games came in like the last 6 weeks of the season where they were resting guys. Like KP played 57 games last year. And I will say tonight, and we'll get into individual guys, but he looked pretty good tonight. But yeah, so Thunder 12.1, Cavs 11.5, Celtics 10.4, and the next closest is the Grizzlies at 7.6. There's a significant drop off. This is like a historic NBA season in general.
Like, if this Celtics season was last year, it would be the best season in the league by a wide margin, and they would still be considered the title or bust contenders. So it's like they're doing the same thing. Other teams have gotten off to better starts, but that doesn't mean the Celtics have regressed. It means they're playing at a level that no team in the league proved could beat 4 out of 7 times. Until that happens, what's the problem? I just don't understand.
On the Cavs Thunder tomorrow, do you have who will you be going for? Is it simple as just like it's better for the Thunder to win because we get closer to the 1 seed?
I think I think so, right? Because you're thinking, oh my God, in a potential, do you want home court in the finals? But I think before you can worry about home court in the finals, you have to worry about home court in the Eastern Conference Finals. Not to say they can't win a road game, but who wouldn't want home court? So I think you have to ride with OKC, and I just think it adds to their pressure. And I'm interested to see how that impacts them moving forward and in the postseason. And there's nothing wrong with having a formidable opponent. Like, you shouldn't be afraid of the competition.
I have enjoyed you holding. Also, shout out RJ for the super chat here. Celtics found the path to the W. Yeah, that is
all that matters. All that matters.
Exactly.
All that matters.
Biss, I have enjoyed you holding people accountable, Thunder fans in particular after the loss, and Cavs fans to a lesser extent. But if you want to be the team that is the favorite, you want to be the team that has the MVP, like that comes with expectations. And if you don't make the finals or win the title, like you should think of it as a failure.
Right. And I just think, I just don't understand the desire to have the respect and the praise, but the unwillingness to accept the responsibility that goes on. Like, to be in that tier of a true title or bust contender is extremely hard to do. You have to play historic basketball. So like me saying that about them is almost a compliment. It's like, you guys are this good. This is your new reality. The unwillingness to accept it, I think, is deep down. They don't think that they are as good as their record, which is bizarre because their win profile says that they are as legit. Like when the Celtics were on this run, you believe what the data and the product on the floor tells you. So I just think, and I would say the same thing to a Cavs fan. If you're going to have 70 wins and a historic point differential, your expectation is to win the title. The same as it was for the Celtics last year, the same as it was for the 2017 Warriors. Like when you play that level, that's just normal expectations.
And going back to what you said about like once in a lifetime, like, yeah, sure. If you're the Thunder, if you're the Cavs, you can tell yourself it's not a failure. It's not, title or bust because we have young guys. We're going to get better. Like we know things can change, injuries can happen. Like as Celtics fans, whether it's 09 with KG's knee or Robert Williams' whole body degenerating, like it can feel like you deserve a title and then you lose in the finals. Devil Magic hits you the next year and it's like, fuck, man, it's really hard to win titles.
I don't remember anyone being like, oh, it's okay, Tatum and Brown, no worries. Like they're young, plenty of time.
We tried.
Every singular playoff game they lost was, a referendum on who they were as players. So if you're going to tell me a team wins 70 games and that team has the MVP and they don't win the title and that's not supposed to be some sort of failure when they're the same, when their best player is the same age as Jason Tatum, it's just like, listen, if you're afraid of the expectations, just say so, but don't say that there are no expectations. That's insane.
Yeah, man. Like, don't run from it. Like, this is what it's all about. And like, those Celtics teams, the 22 finals team and the 23 conference finals Denver Magic Heat team, were nowhere close to the Cavs and Thunder regular season profiles.
No, they are having your season last year, basically, right? That's the easiest way to have it boiled down to. They are having the type of season from an efficiency, point differential, home record. Like they are replicating your season. What was the expectation for the Celtics last season? Was it, they're Tatum and Brown haven't hit their prime yet.
Yeah.
Tatum's only 26. No, it was they need to win a title or it's a historic failure. If you do something that team who had that type of expectation just lived up to, you then have to fulfill that same role. It's really not, it's like not even a hot take. And they're all freaking out about it. I just don't get it.
Like, you should want to capitalize on your chances. Like you can go back and look throughout history, like the teams that post these historic net ratings. You can, whether it was the Warriors team that did go back to back. Yes, they ended up kind of cruising to their second title, but I don't think anyone's going to mistake the Cavs or Thunder or Celtics really for the Kevin Durant Warriors. Like even like that collection of talent, like they only won 58 games a year after. All their metrics were down. The injuries were worse. They went to 6 games in the first round against the Clippers. Like you can go back to the Kobe Lakers, the Bulls teams. Yeah. Like you just
never know.
Yeah, you just never know what can happen. Like, Chet is he a guy that misses like half of the season every like second year because that's his current pace to be on. So I don't think it's a hot take at all for
I just feel like it's common sense. It's like, what team in NBA history wins 70 games and has an MVP and doesn't have the expectation coming out of the Western Conference, mind you, as a 1 seed to not win the title? It's like, embrace it. Embrace the pressure if you're as good as you say you are.
I understand it because I remember last year when people were like, is it a failure if they lose? And I was like, obviously it will be a failure if they lose. I don't want to say that though, because I want to pretend like it's not and it's fine and we can come back next year. But it's just not how it works. Like in the 2022 finals, I felt like that. Like it felt like a failure once we went up 2-1 and then lost. But like going into the playoffs and like making the finals did not feel as if like it was a failure of a season. Just felt like that after it was so tantalizingly close.
Yes, but I would also say that wasn't a 70-win team.
No, exactly.
So it's like
exactly.
It's like even in their situation, it was a little bit different of a circumstance.
All right, the game that happened tonight. We should talk about it, I guess. The Kristaps Porzingis experience this season has been one of emotion, tumultuous. We've got our fourth game where he got semi-injured for a moment. I knew immediately that it was nuts. I'm not sure
Did
about you.
you?
I was
No,
like,
I
yeah. So
didn't.
did you? Yeah, I could tell. I could
Oh
tell.
my God. The way that he immediately crumbled to the ground and like wasn't moving, I was like, he just tore his Achilles or something because he didn't really jump. It didn't feel like it. And they weren't talking about it on the feed. And I was like, I'm pretty sure he just died. And then they show him crawling over, and then you got the replay. But for those like 15 seconds, you felt every emotion under the sun. How could you not? Because you just had no idea what was going on.
I'm not sure if I was just happening to be looking like directly where he got hit, but I just like, and the way that he crumpled, I like, and like kind of like, your shoulders go up and you kind of like go in. To me, I was like, I'm pretty sure he got hit in the nuts, but I was worried, but I was like, I think that's what happened. But then at the same time, I was like, is Kristaps Porzingis going to be the first guy or one of a handful of guys that's going to have like the rarest dick surgery that
right? He has like a shattered testicle or some shit, like like a broken nut. Like I don't know, like what do you? He would be the one to do
exactly.
It. It's like a ruptured dick vein or something. Like I don't know, just like some obscure one.
It's a lot of veins to break down there, probably.
I just honestly, it's every second he is on the floor is just so. I just don't breathe. I don't think. I just hold my breath. I hold my breath for every jump. I hold my breath for every time someone swipes down on his swipe through. I'm like, please don't come down on his wrist and freaking shatter his forearm. Because we saw once he gets into a rhythm, it's like, this is it. This is what we need. But just like find a way to get through the regular season.
Yeah. And so that was great. We survived the dick shot. I do think this was maybe his best game since kind of coming. I mean, the first game that he came back in that Clippers blowout, that was his best game. And then it's been uneven. I mean, he's been in and out of the lineup like a bunch.
Every game, every other game.
Yeah. So that's part of it too. But this is now, like, since coming back from the ankle, he played in the Rockets, Thunder, and the Nuggets game tonight. And I thought this was his best game. I will say, and it's kind of, I really enjoy that he is playing really hard. I think that he's like rebounding hard, he's defending hard. It kind of freaks me out that he's playing so hard, but like he's flying around out there. But tonight, offensively, like what he ended up 25 points on 18.
It's perfect. Shots. It was everything you want from him. Balance from all three levels. Got to the free throw line. Didn't turn it over. No complaints. I think there were some areas where it's like, you're 7'3". I can't believe you didn't get that rebound, but that was a contagious issue for everybody on the defensive glass. And I just think he needs to see the ball go in. And I think this was the biggest benefit for Jokic not playing because there was no early 2 fouls. Now he has to sit, can't get in a rhythm. He got cooking, even though he technically played Jokic well. I think he had like another huge outburst in, their matchups last year, but the fact that he could be on the floor and not in foul trouble, I think, is what helped him, see the ball go in, get to the line, get your rhythm, and get in game shape.
Yeah, man, he stuffed the stats sheet tonight. 25 points, 11 rebounds, 5 of them were offensive, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Like,
great. That's it.
That's awesome.
And I bet his minutes were what? Probably like 32 or something?
34.
25?
34. So
34, yeah.
Not bad.
So like, that's fine.
It's probably 5 minutes over what I would like every single night, but this.
Well, I wonder, do they have any back-to-backs on this?
They got 2 days off now. So
okay, that's probably there you go. That's probably why.
Yeah.
So
you got tonight off. I mean, tomorrow night, next night, and then you have the Kings. It's a nice. Zion is back tonight. It was back tonight. Kings
Kings have a boost. They got new coach boost. They're not a layup.
Oh yeah. No, they're not a layup.
Atlanta, you got Trae Young hitting half-court buzzer beaters today, so like they're playing well and have already beaten you. But this is their stretch before they go back out west.
Correct.
You kind of need to sweep these 5-6 games coming home.
Yeah, Kings, Pelicans, Raptors, Magic. You'd like to just win all of the, and then the Hawks. You gotta.
That has to be like a what
4
would
and
you
1?
say? 5 games. So 4-1 at a minimum. It really.
That's the key though, is like, can we, and we are back to it now. We're on a 60 win, 59.9
Yep.
win pace now.
Yep.
Can we just get back to winning 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5,
Yep.
4 out of 5?
They have currently won 4 out of 5.
Yes. So and like a lot of that's going to be health, but like, can we just, and what I do like about this team and how they've been approaching this last stretch here, like they've taken this swoon seriously. Like all the words coming out of everybody's mouths, they've like, eye test wise been playing harder. Like the way they're talking, the way Kristaps was talking today, you'd think that they've fallen to the 7th seed or something. Like they're still like on pace for 60 wins, but I think that's good. They're holding themselves to a high standard. So, yeah.
I mean, well, listen, it's like they're now dealing with what the teams had to deal with last year. Of you're playing well, but there's still a 4 or 5 game gap from the top seed, and I think they screwed around enough in December where they know if they want to close the gap, they have to get pretty serious and rip off like 10 of 12. Like you now need to find a way to make up that balance. And you're not going to do it by not playing defense, and you're not going to do it by not playing the right way. So, I think coming out of this stretch 3-1, remember, before they left for this road trip, this was like, this is the test. We're going to see what they are. It's like they had one bad half, or else this is a 4-0 trip. So pretty good.
Yeah, look, the haters are going to say, well, you choked against OKC and you got to play Nikola Jokic, but you still played really well.
Man.
Yeah,
that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
Exactly.
Don't get sick,
Yeah, pretty easy. Especially
up your vitamin C. Drink some orange juice. I don't know.
What do we do? A little hydrolyte in the morning. Come on, man. Jason Tatum didn't shoot well tonight, but despite going 1 for 9 from 3, still put in 29 points on 23 shots. He was incredible getting downhill today.
I thought this was one of his best games of the trip. Efficiency aside, just how he controlled the game, gave it what it needed when it needed it. When it was time to close the door, he was there in the fourth quarter. I imagine this is going to be another game where his potential assists are great and his actual assists were 4 or 5, something like that. A little surprised his rebounding was so low, but they played a lot of double big. So it's like, that probably took care of that. And, more importantly, it was when it was time to get serious, they gave him the ball and they said, figure it out. And he came through. Like on the road, last game of a trip, that's when your best player says, all right, I'm going to put this away and we're going to go home with the win. That's what he did.
Yeah. Shout out to chat. Where do we get American guests willing to stay up this late? Shout out Greeny. It's we're getting into the 10 p.m.
Yeah, it's
range.
getting late. But whatever, man. It's I'm jazzed up. I'm not.
Let's go. Yeah.
Sleep.
You don't sleep anyway, but yeah. Shout out
watch this whole thing again in a couple hours.
Shout out the Insomniacs in the chat. Like the stream if you haven't already. Does Fireball hydrate? In my experience, yes. So maybe that was Derek White and Nikola Jokic's problem today. But yeah, Tatum was fantastic. The late game isolation on Peyton Watson was
that breakdown.
filthy.
You know what it reminded me of, and it kind of hurt my heart when Joe Johnson broke down Paul Pierce when Joe Johnson was on the Nets, and he low dribbled him to death and then hit the dagger. Like Peyton Watson's a hell of a defender. He's long as hell, and you saw why he's having the best isolation season in the NBA. 1.2 points per possession, 47%, 97 or 94th percentile. Like there isn't a better isolation scorer this year than Jason Tatum. That play right there in that moment is what that looks like.
Yeah, and I feel like the last couple games or this trip, I'm not sure. I have to look at the numbers. It feels like he's added not a lot, but like 1 or 2 extra mid-range jump shots in. And I do like getting to spots because, like, obviously 37%. Tatum's always been like high 30% mid-range shooter.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah. So like, you obviously want him taking more threes than twos, but sometimes it's just like it's easier to get to a spot in the mid-range. And so I like in those high leverage situations not having to go to the step back three, like kind of getting them on a string, get downhill and mixing it up a bit because it's not in the aggregate. You obviously want him taking more threes than twos because the percentage is very similar, but in some high leverage spots, you can get to his little fadeaway. He had a
I
nice
also
one.
just think his finishing at the rim out of isolation has been so much better. Like he now looks like he's going up strong. He's finishing through contact. He's finishing, with two hands. I would bet his rim percentage this year is probably the highest it's been in the last 2 or 3 years. And his conversion rate, like I just feel like he's not missing as much out of isolation when he doesn't settle for the mid-range and he instead attacks someone, off the dribble. I think he's just finishing at a much higher clip. Could be wrong, but
no, you are.
That's how it feels.
Because I was actually comparing Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum's stuff yesterday, and Tatum I think was 71% at the rim coming into tonight, which is that's like center stuff.
Well, I know it's crazy. I think Pritchard's at 75%.
Yeah,
I think I tweeted that once.
Yeah, it helps when you only take the wide open layups. I think is
75% is 75%.
That's right. Hey, if Pritchard could also make a shot at some point again soon.
Honestly, I was dumbfounded that he had 2 bad games in a row.
Yeah, it's usually like scorching hot for 3-4 games in a row. One for 6,
one stinker,
and then we're back on again.
Right. Again, it's just another one of those. I thought all of his looks were pretty good. It's like, just be yourself, dude. Just hit your averages, and I think because honestly, that makes you against these teams with length and that are physical. Like they're eliminating Peyton Pritchard's offensive production. That's an issue given how important he's been. So it's like his 6th man of the year campaign is so awesome, but at the same time, if it can be so easily removed, and you're relying on that for your bench production, especially if Hauser's also going to be a brick, that's a little concerning. You can't just I don't know. It's like you got to figure it out. You got to either make your open threes or you got to figure out something else in terms of what the roster looks like.
Yeah, and Rivens, I know you're the head of our Peyton Pritchard propaganda arm, but I do think there still are some questions about if he can play at the highest level when necessary outside of half-court heaves. I think he can play, and the defense has really impressed me this season, but you need a little better than 1 for 6. And I get that he does other things, had a couple nice passes. He had 2 really bad turnovers as well, this entry pass problem that we're having.
Unbelievable. I'm honestly, I'm starting an investigation. I need corral. Somebody needs to ask what the hell, do they not practice or even realize how to do it? It's like a lost art. There should be the rate that they turn the ball over throwing entry passes has to be the highest in the NBA. I don't even know if that's tracked, but it's 40% of their entry passes.
I swear it wasn't a problem before. It feels like a lately problem. I do think Tatum's quite easily the best at it just because he's the best passer and he's the tallest.
But even he had the one to Horford.
I know.
That was way over his head. It's Horford's 7 feet.
Natalia in the chat, was this our best win of the season? Apparently that's what Joe Mazzulla said in the post-game press conference. I get where Joe's coming from. There was probably a road trip.
Yeah,
Jokic being out. But
I would not call this their best win of the
not
season.
for me. Not for me.
Probably what would be.
Either, opening night still probably comes to mind. Yeah. The first Cavs win also comes to mind.
Yeah, they broke their streak. Yep.
I liked both Timberwolves wins. The one on the road without
every Milwaukee win has been good.
Yes.
There's a couple. This was thank God. This was more relief than not than anything else. But
maybe you were trolling, but I do believe that's something that Joe Mazzulla would say. So I'm quite easily. I'm also just a trusting individual. You guys can trick me with pretty much anything in the chat. I'm just like Ron Burgundy up here, and I'll probably read it. Jaylen Brown contributed in other ways, which was good, but little evil Jaylen, I feel like at the moment, the shoulder. I'm not blaming the shoulder injury, but he didn't. It just sucks because he had that perfect first half against the Thunder, and now we've got 6 quarters now where he had 4 turnovers today, still 8 rebounds, 8 assists, but definitely kind of forcing it a little bit and the.
It's weird because it's he didn't even. I think he went forever without taking a shot. So it's he found ways to be impactful, but at the same time, the fourth quarter turnovers, that's the kind of stuff where it sort of outweighs your positives, right? Like the way he moved the ball, his pocket passing, finding Kata, like keeping the offense afloat was big. But at the same time, defensive lapses and turnovers outweigh that. And I think he only took 13 shots or something low. Wasn't a really high, and that's okay, right? Like there's going to be some times where he's going to have a game like this. Tatum's only going to take 17 or 18 shots. Like it's a living, moving, breathing thing. Things are going to change based on the game, but I don't know. This was like a C minus Jalen performance given on what you would expect in this matchup when, if Peyton Watson is guarding Tatum, the Nuggets didn't really have any other wing defenders that you would think should give him trouble. So I thought, it was a little bit of a disappointing like production night just from how aggressive he was. Then in the third quarter, when he started attacking the rim, you saw
cooking.
He's way bigger. He's way stronger. Like this is, I thought his third quarter was great, but then came the behind the back pass turnover. He had like 2 right back to back that are just like, the game's within 5-7 points. You can't waste possessions like that doing behind the back passes. Like just make a normal pass and run a normal set and get out. Like that's it.
I like that he's tried to learn how to hit those short roll passes like Tatum and Derek do. He's just so much worse at it. The behind the back pass was brutal. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's just a Jalen problem. I think it's a little team wide at the moment. They've gotten so good at attacking the right matchups. And there was like Jalen was cooking in that third quarter, maybe 2 or 3 buckets in a row. And then they went to a KP post up on Peyton Watson. And I was like, it's not a terrible place to go, but it was like, didn't run any action. And Jalen had just kind of bullied Jamal Murray and maybe Murray twice. And I'm like, why go away from it? And in the Thunder game, that kind of also happened with Jalen. It was like, why are we posting up Jalen Williams?
I feel like he didn't have one post up in the second half of that Thunder game, right? Like,
well, he was kind of like attacking from the top, and it was against Jalen Williams. It reminded me of the old Heat matchups where it's like, why are Jalen and Jason attacking Bam and Jimmy? It's
right.
Just like,
why are you driving into nail help? Like, stop driving. You can see he's cheating over. Stop driving into it. But tonight I feel like it was a little bit different. It was, he's not driving into help. He's just being careless with the basketball. And it's like, those are the times, especially in a close game in the fourth quarter on the road, where like you're just begging the crowd to get into it. You're begging for a turnover, momentum 3. Like you have to take care of the basketball in those situations.
Yeah. And it's as a team, and there's something I'm looking at, like, I don't want to force it too much to KP unless he's got the right matchup. Like if we're going to do a matchup hunt, make sure you're hunting the right seal. Some seals are more
feisty.
Brave.
Yeah,
exactly.
Some are feisty. Like there's a huge advantage from KP height-wise over Peyton Watson, but Peyton Watson's got length. He's a good defender. Like go after Jamal Murray. Dude, he is your offense target.
Exactly. So I'm just like tracking, like being a little more like purposeful about who you're attacking. Just want to note, Drew Holiday, since coming back from injury, thumbs up. I think
thumbs up.
Like thumbs up. I think physically, defensively, looking a lot better than beforehand, and hit a couple of big shots tonight. 19 points on 12 shots.
Yeah, no real CTE basketball from him. Yeah. Took care of it for the most part. Good defensively, timely buckets, and his catch and shoot 3 is something that has to come back. That cannot be 33, 34%. That has to be 38, 39% for this whole thing to work. So he needs to get going.
His career catch and shoot numbers are so good. Like they have to.
They're over 40. I'm not even saying you can be under 40, but
we're not asking for 60% from the corners.
Right.
It'd be nice.
But you can't be 32. Find a balance. And I think, again, between his injury, low age, all the basketball he's played, like it's just so hard to know how much are they reserving and how much is real regression and concern. I don't think we're there yet because, again, he was great tonight. He's been great when he's been rested. But for them to reach their ceiling, he needs to be above league average for sure.
Yeah, but yes, a solid game from him. And then something that's just encouraging in general. I think Hauser's played like 7 or 8 games in a row now, I think, without missing.
Without missing. Okay. So his back is holding up, you would think.
Because that's big for me. And he was 5 for 11 from 3 in the Timberwolves game. I know he struggled in the Thunder game, but again, he was 3 for 5 tonight. And like coming into the season, he was who I thought was going to have the Pritchard season. Maybe not like the insane explosiveness, but I was like, that's going to be the 7th guy, the defense, the shooting, the attacking closeout stuff. So I would really like him playing 7 or 8 games in a row. Shooting's coming around. Like he had one play tonight where he just took a straight transition 3 at the top of the wing, contest, splash.
Yep.
He had a punish 3 off an offensive rebound, and I'm like,
had the step back. He had the right after. I think it was Brown just made his 3 from the wing, and he came right back with the step back. Like when he's making those, that's when you kind of get the feeling. There's 2 sides. For me, it's his 1 dribble off or 0 dribble off a screen. Like how does that look? And when he pumps and relocates, when those 2 are going in, I feel like that's his trigger that he has found his shot and his stroke. And they need it because they need someone they need the gravity of a 40% shooter. And right now they're not getting 40% shooting from any of their shooters. And you're seeing how that impacts everything else.
And just long term, like I love Pritchard, what we were saying before, but I know Hauser just by purely being 6'7", 6'8", like he's going to be able to get his shot off in tight defenses in the playoffs. Like Pritchard and him aren't going to have the ball in their hands as much. Like it's nice to have.
They're going to be spot up, catch and shoot. Playing off Tatum's gravity. That's why it's very important that Celtics fans understand there are 2 versions of this team. There's playoff Celtics and there's regular season Celtics. What you're seeing in these months is not going to. If these 2 teams were to play in the final, you are not going to see Payton Pritchard handle the ball as much as he did today. It's just not how they're going to play. So you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's probably the last thing. And we'll get out of here. The usage conversation about Jason Tatum, and it's the broader thing about like we lost to the Thunder. A lot of people are upset. I really wanted to win that game too, and like wanting to just fix it with something. And I understand like the stats going around like are incredible with Tatum higher usage and not even stats, it's more just record. 16 and 3, I think, with the high usage number and whatever it is. And
I just think it's one of those things where the underlying message and the overall point is not wrong. Yes, Jason Tatum is the best player. Giving your best player the ball and having him involved and being the ultimate decision maker is what leads you to success. That is an undeniable fact. I think the issue is people are conflating usage rate with having the ball.
Yes.
Right.
Joe Mazzulla cooked.
That's not right. Mazzulla talked about like that's not what it is. I think what people mean to say is in those situations they want him to shoot more or have some sort or go to the line more or things like that because they see these other teams where down the stretch all those best players are taking all the shots like that they're feasting on it. At the same time, the whole reason this roster was constructed is when they get into the playoffs, Tatum has the ball all the time. Even in the regular season, he has the ball all the time. What he decides to do with it is the difference. In the playoffs, he's going to maybe shoot 2 or 3 more times, where in the regular season, those are now extra passes, right? They're playing the right way, they're respecting the game, and they're playing winning basketball. So it's like this whole obsession about usage rate and correlation, not like correlation does not equal causation.
It's like the most obvious correlation causation example ever.
So the overall point is accurate and correct. And people who think that it's advantageous for the Celtics to play through their best player are correct.
Yes.
The thing that they're not grasping is they are using their best player. He does have the ball. Using him as a screener or off-ball gravity, those are all fortunate weapons that makes this team different and him special as a player. Making him a one-dimensional heliocentric player isn't allowing this team to reach their maximum height. And that, I think, is what needs to be most important. Not, we need to make sure he gets to 35% usage because every time they have, we've won. That's not like a real, like, it's not like an automatic thing that way, because look at the Thunder game. He had a 34% usage in the second half of the Thunder game, and none of it mattered because nobody can make a shot. So it's like high usage doesn't always equal wins if the rest of the machine isn't delivering.
Also, which I learned today, because I'm not a scientist, but like Joe Mazzulla informed me that potential assists are not included in the usage statistic.
No.
And it's like, that's also just what happened. Shea passed it to Lou Dort, and he made shots at the end. Tatum passed it to Drew Holiday and Al Hauser, and they missed them. So the usage flipped for Shea and Tatum, and and also the points that you wanted on the scoreboard didn't go the right way either. But like, and I don't fault. I saw people trying to cook Bobby Manning for like asking Joe Mazzulla a bad question, but like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad question. I think it's interesting to bring these stats up. We're in the content game. People are clearly talking about it. Like,
I think here's the issue I think with it. It's a okay question to ask, because I think it's important for people to hear the explanation around that and how it applies to this team. Where it's like kind of lame is like it's being used to push agenda and narrative as opposed to like, and it's like bad intentioned, as opposed to it's like, we need to chop down one player by propping up this one stat that's advantageous to our favorite player. And it's like, that's bullshit. But understanding the fundamental approach behind it, I think, is worthy of having Joe explain it just like he did. And I think when you look at it, how the team looks at it, you understand how Mazzulla wants them to play. And it just so happens to turn out the way he wants them to play just won you the fucking championship. So maybe, perhaps, as tough as it might be for like stan culture and for Twitter arguments, like the reality is, if we're all Celtic fans and we all want them to win, maybe playing the style that is having you win at an 800 clip and just won you a title is what you should be doing. Crazy concept. Crazy
concept. Yeah, and like you look at the stats in the finals, like one, you don't want Tatum fucking going high usage through the regular season. That's a terrible idea as far as like having legs in the playoffs. So that's like the most obvious one. Two, I looked at it today. Tatum had more usage than Jalen in the finals, more field goal attempts, played more minutes, had more like a huge, way more touches and way more time of possession. Like it goes more to Tatum in the playoffs, as it should. Like, it's always been Tatum. It always will be Tatum.
Right? It's like people think, oh, his usage has to be higher. He has to have the ball more. It's like, no, he has the ball all the time. What you want is a shift in what he does with the ball. But it's like, I don't know. I also think, and I tweeted this, and I'm not ruling it out. This is just like the serpent in the Garden of Eden. They're trying to instill these little seeds of infighting with the fan base, second guessing. Oh, Tatum, you should be ISOing and playing more. It's like that Bleacher Report clip where we had like the Kobe like serpent, like try like be selfish, like resisting that urge is how you maintain being a championship caliber team. And I think that is all this really, it's like the basketball Devils attempt to infiltrate this team from within. And Mazzulla's out there. He's the one that like rebukes it and restores order. And I think even with Tatum, how he talked about it, it's like,
so funny.
I'm not taking the bait. You're not going to break us. Like, we have the formula and we're going to play that way and hopefully win multiple championships.
Yeah, it's just it's the Green Goblin with Tatum, and after he makes 2 pull-ups, it's like, oh man, I just want to
keep doing it.
Just, never going downhill again. But yeah, so I think that's just for someone like me who doesn't care about Tatum and Jalen and the whole thing, I'm like, I was genuinely interested by seeing those numbers and then like having Joe explain like also more about the usage, but also understanding like the things that we just talked about. But yeah,
I mean, there's plenty of ways to be used on a basketball court that aren't tracked in usage percentage.
Exactly.
Like, let's not be rudimentary. Like, let's be adults. Like, come on.
Yeah.
The title broke all of this. Like, this is,
I swear, dude,
this is pre-title bullshit. Like, this is what people have to do who don't have a real championship team. We are living in basketball nirvana. There's no need to, gripe it over incorrectly using advanced statistics. Like, let's grow up. Come on.
I think, look, Greeny bought a microphone. He's an
Exactly.
adult.
We're taking this seriously. This is
exactly.
Ben bullied me into it, and I had to cave.
Exactly. I swear Tatum not winning the MVP birthed or the finals MVP, I should say, birthed like a new generation of conspiracy theorists where they think that there's which there is some kind of media agenda against Tatum, but they think that it's internal and that Jalen is
it's crazy. Every clip, it's like Tatum or Jalen. Tatum's not there for you. How do you respond to it? It's like, oh, I got to be more aggressive. We got to get comfortable. It's like, oh, see, he doesn't like being at number 2. It's like, guys, this is pre-title bullshit. You got to grow up. We're not living in 2019. It's 2025. We've grown out of this, and I just think people are still to this day struggling with different criticism and different narratives that have been dispelled for the last 5 years, and they're still doing it. What are you going to do?
It's an illness. We all have brain rot.
We're all deranged. I'm deranged about some things. You're deranged. We all have our faults. Nobody's perfect. But we don't need to have a usage rate civil war between the two franchise players coming off a title. There can be a balance of being delusional about something and deranged about something and still staying on planet Earth. That's all. Rant over. Thank you for coming to my TED
Talk. That's a good way of putting it. If we're gonna wrap that up, throw away the key. We don't need to have a usage civil war about our two best players after just having one of the most dominant years in NBA history that led to an NBA championship, giving the Boston Celtics the lead in titles over literally the rest of the NBA. So
can't be
good job by the Boston Celtics. They won 3-1. They're on pace for 60 wins. Greeny, thank you for staying up with us. It's been a pleasure. We will be talking to you soon. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you. Till next time. Go Celtics.